was a time when my son was fascinated by money too.
All right, so I will, oh, he does? Okay. Well, I'm gonna bring them next time.
Call the meeting to order. Norwich Board of Education, Tuesday, June 11th, 2024. Pledge of Allegiance. Let's have Greg do it tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Christina Milton will be joining us a little later. She has, due to the fact that she's a public school teacher in East Hampton, she's also dedicated, so she has a school function which she has to attend tonight. So that's why she'll be late for our function. Okay, approval of the minutes for May 14th, 2024. Could I have a, look them over, please, and could I have a motion to approve?
Kevin Saitani, I will make the motion to approve the minutes from the month of May.
Christine D'Estacio, I'll second.
Okay, any corrections, discussion? Anyone has? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is unanimous. Item 3, recognition awards.
When I call your name, if you could please come to the front. I'm going to start with Jenna Mancini. Jenna.
Hi.
Okay, Jenna Mancini, the Key is Me Award. Jenna is a grade 2 teacher at Waquanic School, and she was nominated by Cassie Bradford, who is the special education teacher at Waquanic. I would like to nominate Jenna Mancini for this Key is Me Award because of her hard work and dedication to Waquanic School this year. Jenna brings strong leadership skills to all her roles, and there are many. Our school family is incredibly lucky to have her as our lead teacher. She is dedicated, hardworking, and extremely organized. She works collaboratively with staff and has great communication and listening skills. Students love her because she is kind, and they all know that she cares about them deeply. I feel lucky to have her as a colleague and would love it if she could be recognized for this award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Andra Bryant. The I Make a Difference. So Tandra is an administrative assistant right here at Kelly Steen Middle School. She was nominated by colleague Buck, one of our deans. Tandra is an invaluable asset to Kelly Steen Middle School. She embodies the essence of what an administrative assistant should be. She not only supports the operations of the school, but she nurtures the emotional and social well-being of our students. Tandra's ability to forge meaningful connections with students is truly remarkable. She ensures that every student feels valued and welcomed when they enter the building. In a world where efficiency often takes precedence over empathy, Tandra stands out as an exemplary example of compassion. She makes everyone feel important and knows everyone that enters Kelly that she cares. Her presence in the office has transformed it into a safe haven for our students. She's not just an essential part of the school's daily operations, she is the heart and soul of our school community. Then finally, we have You Inspire Me, and this was for the adult education student. I went, John, I think last week to give this to him because he wasn't able to make it here. I want to make sure it's Hubert Geffard. Did I say that correctly? All right. He is an ESOL student of mine that inspires me to come to school each and every day. He has overcome adversity and hardship and has made great achievements and continues to work hard to be respected and a contributing citizen of his community. He came here from Haiti 2 years ago, and since that time, he has secured housing, completed his CNA classes, passed the state of Connecticut clinical CNA exam, all while attending classes at Norwich Adult Education 4 days a week, being active in his church and working full time. So it was awesome to see him. So yeah. Okay, we can just take like a 5-minute break and we'll meet outside for pictures for everybody else.
Okay, Amber, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
I don't have any now.
Okay. Is there anyone who wishes to speak for public comment? Yes, please come forward.
I had signed.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
Like,
didn't
that's-
see you.
That's okay.
All right, I just have a brief statement before you start.
Absolutely.
Okay, the Norwich Board of Education values the public comment period as it represents an opportunity for members of the public to express their views to the board on matters within the board's authority. Procedurally, public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person and up to 30 minutes per topic. All comments must be directed to the board, not to any individual board member or individual member of the administration. The board and the administration will not respond to questions or engage in dialogue during public comment period. The board and administration will determine when and how to address questions that arise during the public comment period. Comments may also be submitted via email or in writing at any time. Profanity, raised voices, boisterous conduct, and personal animosity will not be tolerated and may result in the suspension of that individual's speaking privilege. The chair reserves the right to limit public comment at any time so that the board's business may be conducted in a timely manner. Each speaker is asked to give their name and address for the record before starting their remarks. If you could proceed, please.
Thank you. My name is Beth Bellevue. I live at 5 Tower Hill Road in Norwich. Good evening. I'm here to ask for equity. This equity refers to the fact that Teachers Memorial Global Studies Middle School is the only school in this district that will not have a reading or math specialist to work with our students in a small group setting that targets on key concepts to help students make greater gains towards achieving grade level in both subject areas. I had been told that the reason that Kelly STEAM will have 4 specialists and Teachers Global will have none is due to Kelly having increased student enrollment. Even with this truth, it shouldn't mean that Teachers Global will not be able to give the opportunity for their students to have small groups of students working with a certified teacher on targeted skills with specific goals to achieve. Also, the students will not have a specialist that will push into their math or ELA classes and help them build and connect the skills they need to succeed in the daily lessons. All of the elementary schools that have less number of students than Teachers Memorial is going to have a specialist in place for next year. The Math iReady scores have increased greatly since the implementation of specialists leading small group instruction, as well as pushing into the classes. This year, the year prior to specialists being hired, the iReady fall to spring scores showed a median growth of students in math was 32% at Teachers Memorial. The following year, the median growth was 72%, with only 1 specialist covering grades 6, 7, and 8 in math. Last year, the median growth reached 100% in math. And this year, presently, the median growth has reached 92% in math. The specialists at Teachers Global for math have pulled out 180 students for small group targeted instruction for the 23-24 school year. How can a district go from providing this service to well over 180 students to 0 receiving any chance of this service for the 24-25 school year? Please don't deny 1 school of students with this opportunity that will be offered to in every other public school in this city. Families trust and need us to do our best each and every day to educate the children of Norwich. Removing this opportunity for students is not only inequitable, but would be a true digression to the progress that has been made over the past 3 years. Thank you for your time and consideration of this matter.
Is there anyone else for public comment?
I was gonna say no, but I was second guessing myself.
Is there anyone else for public comment?
No.
And is there anyone else for public comment? I now declare public comment closed. Okay, next is report of the chair. Normally I give what the national day is. I forgot my paper at home. I think it was Hug a Doctor Day or something today, so go and hug your doctor. And I believe it's also Corn on the Cob Day too, so it's a little early here for corn on the cob, but at least the native variety. Okay, this past month I Went to the All-City Art Show, which was on May 15th and 16th. We have wonderful artists in all of our schools. Was a very well-attended event. Also attended a couple of the budget ad hoc meetings where I'd like to congratulate the staff and administration for finding savings and cutting 4.4 million from our original ask of slightly north of $100 million down to 95.6 million. And that number was approved by the ad hoc committee to go to the city council. And last night, this council did approve the final number and approved our 95.68 million for our budget for the next year. We'll be getting an update on the current status from our business administrator later. Starting tomorrow and next week, we have a whole slew of graduations that are going to be happening. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. here at Kelly will be adult education. Next one, NFA will be having their graduation on Thursday, the 13th, with a rain date of June 14th. That's outside on the athletic field. After that, we have in this room on this Friday, the 14th, will be the Norwich Transition Academy. They'll be meeting at 10 in the morning. And then teachers will be having their, Teachers Global will be having their graduation on June 18th at 11:30 a.m. here at Kelly in the auditorium. And Kelly itself will be also having their graduation ceremonies into a Team A and Team B graduation. Team A will be at 9 in the morning, Team B will be at 11, also here in the auditorium. The various elementary schools will be having their promotion ceremonies, 5 of them on the 20th. Unfortunately, they're occurring at the same time as the Kelly graduation, so I doubt if any of the board members would be able to make those. On the 21st will be our final graduations, which will be Uncas, Stanton, and veterans. I plan on attending the Uncas. Susan, you're probably going to Stanton. You have an affinity for that school.
Do.
Okay. And I ask anyone from the board if they choose either to join me at Stanton or please attend the ceremony at Veterans. And those are, the Stanton one will be at 9:30 and Uncas at Veterans will both be at 10 in the morning. Also for this year, for the first year, we're going to be celebrating in schools due to multiple closures, not because of snow, but because of rain and flooding, oddly enough, during the winter. We'll be celebrating Juneteenth on June 19th. I'm proud to say that Juneteenth was first recognized as a holiday in Houston, Texas, and secondly in Norwich, Connecticut. So we were the first communities in the nation to recognize Juneteenth. And this past a week ago, on Monday, the City Council approved the celebration of Juneteenth as an official city holiday. So city offices, everything will be closed on the 19th. Also to, when summer comes, please remember and support the Rose Arts Festival, which will be held on the 28th in the afternoon for downtown venues for music performances. And the morning of the 29th will be the Rose Arts Run. And there'll be events on Chelsea Parade, and then events later in the afternoon and evening downtown at various venues. Norwich Harbor Fireworks will be happening on Friday, July 5th this year. So there's a lot to do in the city, so please support your city. And that concludes my report. Now we move on to the report of the acting superintendent, Susan Lassard.
I'm gonna start with the pre-K update. So we have 255 students attending NPS pre-K with 77 openings left. We opened our third pre-K classroom at McCann. This classroom will house 15 students in Smart Start grants. 5 children of 4 staff members will join us next year as pre-K students. This is a testament to the high quality of our program and a recruitment and retention effort for staff in the district. 31 children attended the pre-K screener that took place across 2 days. A team of pre-K faculty screened children in the area of speech, behavior, and pre-academic skills, while parents completed the ages and stages questionnaire, registered their children in the district, and completed intakes with Head Start when appropriate. This was a collaborative event between NPS Pre-K, Family Resource Center, Registration, Head Start, and Norwich Family Youth and Recreation Department, and was met with a great response from our newest NPS families. Early kindergarten entrance was granted to 17 students. Some students who applied were not eligible based on the range of dates of birth as set by the legislation, meaning if their birthday fell after December 31st, they weren't eligible. The district seeks to add a pre-K classroom to Uncas Elementary School. This is really important because of where Uncas is located. The slots are already allocated to Norwich Public Schools. However, we need approval from the School Readiness Council and the Office of Early Childhood to place the classrooms specifically at Uncas. This would add to the pre-K options available to students who live on the west side of Norwich, which will be less of a burden on transportation. Pre-K classes are being reorganized for next school year. Thank you, Corey Beckwith. Where possible, we are attempting to place children in pre-K classes at schools that are in or very close to their zone school. Again, that's to help with transportation. And then there's going to be some information about child's pre-K school and teacher during the summer. For teaching and learning, pre-K educators participated in a professional development on co-regulation and Tier 1 sensory strategies. The underlying theory of co-regulation is that adults use their emotional presence to de-escalate a student when they are dysregulated, and the staff learn strategies to support their own regulation and that of their students to maintain harmony when stressors are high. The tools that were learned were immediately applicable in the early childhood classroom. Each classroom is having a pre-K promotion ceremony between now and the end of the school year. It will be an age-appropriate celebration of the early school experience. Thank you for that. I want to let everyone know, you have it on the docs, that we have done our Teacher of the Year award. We also added a Rookie of the Year this year. So in order for the Teacher of the Year to move on to the stage, you have to have over 5 years or 5 years or more experience. So we added Rookie of the Year for teachers that are in years 1 through 4. So that's new this year. And then of course we have the Para-Educator of the Year. So there was one picked for each school. Today we had a really nice celebration at Global. Julie Tamboro won for the Teacher of the Year for the district. And I want to say that Jamie and I went, Amber, and when we surprised her all the sixth grade kids were in the hallways, and you could just see they just all ran to her and hugged her and grabbed her. So it was really a special, it was a special morning for us to be at Louisville this morning for that. We have not announced the Rookie of the Year. That's coming soon, nor the Paraeducator of the Year. That's coming soon as well for the district. Okay, I think it was someone on the board asked about the summer meal program. So there was an article in the paper, and you guys all have that in front of you, from the Norwich Bulletin, did a nice job. Norwich Public Schools proposed summer food program where to get free breakfast and lunch. And if you turn the page, these all had to be approved by the state. So all of these sites are state approved. And some of them will be inside the schools where they can sit down. The state, the way that it works is that they used to during the pandemic be able to grab their food and go. They can no longer do that. So they have to stay at the location to eat their food. So we're, making sure that there's seating available on these sites. But here's, if you go to the second page, it shows all of the sites where the summer foods will be. Does anybody have any questions on the program, the summer food program?
Is there seating available at those sites?
It's where we're working on making sure that there is, yes. Obviously, at the schools, they can go inside to make it easy.
Okay, I see that some of the sites, if it's raining, they won't be served because there's no cover.
Well, uncertain.
Correct.
And that runs up to August 16th, correct?
Okay. I want to give an update on the Rose City School. We conducted interviews today, and we have hired for the beginning of our program. So we're very excited about that. Today we hired a social worker, the special education teacher was hired last week. We hired a school psychologist and a paraprofessional. So we're really excited about getting that program going. I know Lisa and I and our HR department, and I think we can agree, Lisa, that we're really excited about the team that we've assembled to start this program.
Very much so, yes.
And we have one of our our supervisors of special education will support the program. And I think I explained this last time, but I'll just remind everyone that the paraprofessional and the special education teacher will be there full-time. The social worker and the school psychologist, special ed supervisor will be there when they need to, but they'll also be there to support the district in any way that they need while it's starting up. So once it gets bigger, then we'll pull them more towards Rose City School. But we have 5 students, Lisa, slotted to start our program in August. We're starting school in August. So we're super excited about that. We started our STARS program the one that we've had at Stanton. We have 2 STARS programs at Stanton. We started another one at Veterans. That started already, so we're excited to get that started now so that they'll be ready for next year for an additional 4 students.
Susan, I was just trying to remember, can you say we're not going to have team and stars now? We're going to
You're correct.
refer to
I
it
keep
all.
calling it STARS until.
That's why I thought it
Yeah.
was team. I just want to make sure.
I don't know if Lisa, we don't think we've announced it.
We haven't announced it.
We haven't announced it yet.
Now is
I
a
just
great
wanted to
time.
get
This
straight
one.
line. Yeah.
We are gonna call it team to make it easier.
Yes, yeah, I just want to make sure I'm understanding it. Thank you. You're welcome.
The staff moved to 90 Town Street building. I just want to give everyone an update. Jamie and her team moved over there Monday, Jamie, or Friday, and then everyone started Monday. And that seems to be working out really well. Myself and Amber are moving over Thursday to 90 Town Street. We have decided that we're gonna move our HR department there as well, because we don't wanna move them downstairs with all the file cabinets, just to eventually move them over to 90 Town Street. So we are gonna move HR over there as well, and that won't be until July, so we're doing it in phases. Does anybody have any questions about Grove City or moving the staff that's moving to 90 Town Street? The technology equipment relocation update, just to remind everyone, we've been talking about that. The main servers are gonna be moved here to Kelly. We're doing that on July 5th. There'll be no internet between the times of 8 and probably 10 a.m. while we get it up and running. And we specifically did that on July 5th because we're starting summer school. That's a Friday. We start summer school on Monday so that we can make sure that we're up and running for summer school on Monday. So Matt W has been in charge of that. It's going pretty well.
Excuse me, what format is summer school taking this year?
What do you mean format?
Is it virtual or are we doing?
Oh, no, it's in person.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you want to, Lisa, do you want to talk a little bit about how we, actually, it might be a good time to talk about how we stationed everyone so that we could share the nursing resources and
Sure.
everything?
Sure, I can do that. So for extended school year for our students with IEP supports, last year we had different buildings, 2 different buildings. This year we've centralized at Huntington with the academic summer school program, so it'll be in person and we'll have students there. There are, I think, about 88 students right now for the academic summer program that will be at Huntington, and an additional number, about 100 for ESY, but probably we won't have all of those students that will attend on a regular basis. We'll have to see for attendance, but the purpose of partnering with Jamie's office is really to make sure our resources are shared. We didn't have to hire an additional nurse for an additional, site, so it's really worked out very nicely. So we're sharing the space at Huntington, and then we'll have students here as well.
So the kids attending summer school are, I missed that, I didn't understand the second part, some have IEPs.
So there are 2 programs.
Right, that's what I want to hear
Yes.
more of the second.
Yes, so that would be, that's Jamie's program.
Summer
So
school.
you'll talk about that later as well.
Yeah, I can talk about it now since we're
Okay,
on that.
go ahead.
Our summer school is going to be in person. We focused on our youngest learners, K1, 2, and 3, going, I think 3. Trying to remember because we were talking about outgoing and incoming grade levels, but we're focusing on language arts and math. And in person, small groups. We know that we need to beef up our interventions with our youngest learners so that they can be reading by the time they're in 3rd grade. Know their facts by the time they're in 3rd grade. We're getting back to fundamentals, and so that was our focus for our summer grant funding.
When you say, like, to have an IEP, are those all the kids that aren't proficient, aren't testing proficiency level? I mean, like, what is the cutoff? Like, how do you decide?
In terms of, are you talking about, yeah, there's 2 things.
Yeah,
Let's
now
go here.
first, the kids that have IEPs, yours,
Oh, that's a whole other process,
Yeah, right.
of identification in terms of.
yeah, that's what I mean, like, is it kids that just are, you go by the testing scores,
So-
or that's what I mean?
Yeah, so we would do a full battery of assessment that's different than what we would have, so for example, already is something that's been used in the district to monitor student progress and read different reading assessments that a teacher may give. But the special education process is different than that particular process. And so it wouldn't necessarily just be about proficiency in reading, although that would be an indicator. Correct. And so now we have something called the SRBI process where we do interventions and try many things in an attempt to try to get students to be further along in their reading But sometimes, that's just not possible without specially designed instruction and that's special education.
And not to, complicate the explanation, but when we determine whether a student that has an IEP requires summer programming, it's really about can they, their retention skills and then the ability to recoup by the time they get back to school. So there's a longer period, and if the team that determines this indicates through data that they take a longer time to recoup those skills, then they would be requiring the summer program. So not all students with an IEP need extended school year services. Only those that have been determined by the planning and placement team, because the retention and recruitment of those skills kind of are a longer period of time.
Darn summer break.
What's nice though, to Jamie's point in keeping it for our youngest learners, we've been able to, for our extended school year for special education, put our youngest learners at Huntington. So our preschool students will be there for, the special education, and it's the same hours, and so we didn't have conflicts with staffing. We've really worked together to make it as cohesive as possible.
Thank you very much.
Question, Jamie, is this the first summer that age group has been targeted? Came through grade three?
Well, summer school has been done differently in different years. And I think last year it was done virtually, and it was all grade levels, I believe. In years past, it's been all grade levels, and it's been a whole day. Like, there's been different ways in which they have tackled summer learning. But we are reliant upon grant funding. And so we took the funding that is available to us at current time and determined that we wanted to focus on our youngest learners. It's not to say that we might make a different decision next year and expand that a little bit. We needed to kind of get back the fundamentals using the grant money that we have allocated, and then, we'll go from there.
Do you want to add to that, Jamie? Just the online learning piece did not work at all last year. There was a lot of kids that didn't show up. Parents were confused on whether it was in person. They found out it was online. They didn't really get involved in it. So we already know from the pandemic that the online learning is
The excuse we were given was that there wasn't enough staff or something interested.
But we had a lot of staff interested this year, so that was awesome.
And, last year with the virtual version, there was leftover funding that we've been utilizing this year for after-school tutoring, all-star tutoring for similarly identified groups. So we're planning to use that over the summer for teaching live.
I'm thrilled to hear it's in person.
Is that a district-wide goal to get all of our kids reading by third grade?
Always, because that's the data. The research shows us that they should be reading by third grade or they're gonna be behind.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean, you can't do math if you can't read either.
Any other questions for Jamie or Lisa on some of the programs? Thanks, Jamie and Lisa. And last thing, I just want to point everyone, we had an equity meeting, a final meeting, it was yesterday, that some of us attended here. Sarah Dusso did a really nice job for the equity department end of year data review, so please, if you haven't already, make sure that you take a look at that. We had some nice discussions yesterday and some kind of homework from some of the committee to further work on. So we're excited to start this work up again next school year.
I'd just like to comment, I kudos to the equity committee that I see staff diversity has increased from 11.2% to 12.7% over the past year. So small increment, but every face of of an educator that looks like our students is a plus.
And that concludes my report.
My comment would be that it's sad that we have 106 McKinney-Vento homeless kids in our schools, 64 elementary and 42 at the high school level. It speaks a lot to our community and to the situation in the state of Connecticut that we need to work on getting everyone adequate housing.
You just said we're up to 64 under McKinney-Vento for elementary?
64 that NPS does and 42 at the high school level.
I missed that.
And I'll just add a side note for transportation that the Sherman Street Bridge project is nearing completion. That should be done this summer and definitely done by the fall so that that connection between the Chelsea Parade area and over to Stanton School will be, and teachers will be much easier, help a lot in transportation. Okay, moving on, the Acting Assistant Superintendent Jamie Bender.
Okay. So to start with, just to let you know that our end of the year assessments are just about finished. We did complete our Smarter Balance assessment. And we wait for those final results to be certified so we can report out on those. However, we did get a phone call from the State Department letting us know, albeit informal, that we've made some improvements. So we're looking forward to seeing what that's all about and digging into that information, as I said, once it's certified. We've gone through our DIBELS, which is a measure of our early literacy skills, our DESA results, which measures our social emotional student strengths, and then of course our interim assessment blocks, which we brought back into the fold, which really help our students kind of take their skills in math and ELA and put them together in a way that demonstrates their skills. iReady is nearly done. We did have some challenges with the network this past few weeks, and we had to make some adjustments with the calendar. But once again, it's the staff and students and the resiliency kind of managed, and we've been finishing those up. Matt and his technology team certainly worked miracles to remedy the performance issues, but again, this was resolved by just pushing out the assessment deadline a little bit. And we'll be analyzing those as soon as the final status is realized. We'll be providing those results to you at some point this summer. We're also preparing for our end of the year State Department meeting where we review the Alliance outcomes that have been tracked throughout the year through that grant funding. This is where we kind of collect and submit data for the end of the year and review it with different State Department stakeholders. And so this week we were collecting that data and inputting it into their platforms and trackers that they provide to us, responding to their questions. And that final end of the year meeting for this year's Alliance will be held on July 24th. So again, we'll share that outcome data once we finished it up. In review of, in preparation for that, the preliminary iReady results definitely show some proficiency growth in our early grades in ELA and math, so that's promising, especially when we were just talking about that how important that is. And other data points that we'll be reviewing with the state, of course, are attendance and discipline. In addition to that Alliance meeting, we'll also be discussing initiatives of our middle school commissioner network grant planning year. With that funding for the for planning. We've had teams from both middle schools attend the widely recognized Harvard Graduate School of Education DataWise Institute, whereby those teams that we sent are district experts, really, in bringing back that information that they learned from that institute to our admin team. They've been, helping to rekindle a very much needed collective data team process that not only are going to be realized in our middle schools, but we're intending to use that information in all of our schools. Not to say that data teams have not occurred, but we want to go back to a streamlined process with every single building doing similar things, speaking the same language, and we really appreciate part of our team leaders, Kim Childress and Shaylin Stanis, who's been kind of leading the work of that. And it's been very well received. Each district leadership academy that we have monthly, they're presenting a component, and our administrators have engaged in an 8-hour kind of self-paced course that goes along with it. So we're looking forward to that work. And again, with that funding that we got from the Commissioners Network, we also have our middle schools identifying teams to become part of a school turnaround leadership institute, which we are hosting. Harvard's coming to us, which is a big deal. And other districts are coming. We have New Haven coming, we have Colchester coming, some members of the State Department are coming, whereby the teams that have been formed at each middle school are going to work at discovering how to create conditions for rapid and sustained change, craft a turnaround plan, generate buy-in, and improve student achievement. And I can already tell you that the number of teachers that have committed and dedicated the time for this summer definitely is indicative of their commitment at some turnaround efforts that are each school is committed to. So
When's that gonna take place, Jim?
July 10th to the 12th. So we'll look forward to updating you on that initiative, but I can tell you that, the teams that came back, they actually did go to Boston, came back and they just had such profound enthusiasm for what they learned. And, that's remarkable. So, some other highlights. Mabel in the extended learning program, and you get a report as to how that's been going all year long, but they've posted several end of the year celebrations at our schools where families were invited to experience activities and performances and break bread with one another, and their children. With a dinner meal was very well received in our schools. One of the programs that extended learning supported was Ed Rising, which is a grant-funded program that encourages our local high school students interested in teaching to come and become interns in our schools and join activities with our kids, and then also help them with their academic skills. And so last night they had a celebration for those interns, and data was presented on on academic growth that children that they were working with made in ELA and math, and it was really remarkable. And so when we talk about wanting to grow our staff, we were starting with members at NFA and at Norwich Tech who joined us, and they were a diverse body of students that are ready to take that next step. A couple of them were juniors, but most of them were seniors ready to move on to college. And so it was a really great celebration and great results for our students.
Wonderful. I didn't even know
Also
we were doing
also
that.
grant funded.
So even Norwich Tech, you said participate.
Yeah, I think there was a
and-
Norwich Tech student.
Very good.
Yeah.
It's nice to cooperating and collaborating.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So while we're not quite finished with the 23-24 school year, our district department's been coming together to prepare a year-long professional development plan for next year. And the initial framework has already gone out to staff to kind of, give them a sneak peek of what we're embarking to do next year. It's inclusive of all departments, the nurses, student services, and all of Lisa's sub-departments. and pre-K, paraprofessionals, school safety. So it's a comprehensive year-long PD plan. That also includes our admin assistant. So as we have been doing all year long, we've been soliciting feedback and input from our stakeholders and all those departments. And we are definitely grateful for the gift of time in our calendar coming up for this year with those few extra half days. So we appreciate that. And there's my update.
Thank you.
Notice in your report, Jamie, that it said unprecedented influx of newcomers. Are these coming from out of the country or?
Are you talking about the MLL report?
Probably, yes.
I'm sure
That was the last
usually that's what
paragraph.
that means. So, we continue to have record numbers of people, moving in with children that are considered to be newcomers, that are defined as newcomers. And, but we also had record number of kids that have exited our MLL services. So there was a celebration recently where all the MLL students were invited to come here if they've exited, but not only the students that have exited, but all of their other students that are still in the program came to watch that celebration, to see what's up and coming. So I thought that was a great strategy.
And do we have any idea where they're mainly coming from? Is it Central South America mostly?
I don't.
We don't
I don't have
keep
that.
track of that.
I don't know
Or
if you'll keep
somebody
track of it, I
does.
just don't have the answer for you right now.
Oh, okay. And that also affects residency requirements too, that they've got to do extra checks because they're new to the city and trying to establish households here in the city to make sure that they're properly placed and that our taxpayers aren't paying for someone who's living elsewhere.
Well, that's all done in our registration department.
Right.
So I have faith that they're,
And it seems that the last few years where we've had the residency program and those officers in place, that everybody's tightening up the rules, even surrounding towns, and people are more self-compliant with that than they had been in the past. So that's a good thing. Okay. Going on, report of the Director of Student Services, Dr. Lisa Hughes.
Good evening. I'm happy to offer you some highlights from the year. It's hard to encapsulate everything in one report, and some of the things we've already mentioned this evening. One of the big highlights of the year is really coming together, all of us actually in this room, to work on budget, and part of that came the Rose City School programming. And the planning and visioning for that project has really been a highlight. And Susan talked about, staffing today and working on that, and it was very uplifting, and we're really excited about that, and our Veterans Memorial Stars program, which is already up and running as well. So good stuff happening there. This year, we started a process called the Student Services Office Hours, where I provide a schedule to all of the Office of Student Services, all of the individuals in the schools, to let them know when I'll be there for scheduled times. And that's worked out nicely because I've been able to go into classrooms and have some scheduled meetings during those times, in addition to other times I'm in the building. We've also had a full rollout of safety care de-escalation curriculum, which has been wonderful, and we will continue that next year. We have other initiatives related to that, safety care for families, for example, that we hope to get up and running. Some other pieces that I've indicated here on the report Things like Parents with a Purpose, that was a huge highlight this year. Collaborating with our families, having the opportunity to have conversation about different things happening in the department and in our schools. The Autism Wellness Fair, you know, and I think back to that, we've had this year over 25 different community organizations involved in that. And it was very well attended and it's just a great event. We did touch upon this evening extended school year. We did partner with Jamie's office for resources and working together, and the programs are running at the same time during the same hours. Ours will be at Huntington and Kelly Middle School, as we discussed, and academics will be solely at Huntington. We are running our ever popular Reading Institute, and I look forward to our meeting when we go over results in the fall to talk about how much progress students made with one-to-one tutoring in reading. And this clinic is for students who have dyslexia or other reading challenges, working one-to-one with teachers, and we've had a great turnout and great data that supports the interventions. Students tend to significantly increase in their reading approaches, or their achievement rather. I also have listed some summer priorities. As you know, there's the Special Education Legislative Summit that I'll be going to, and I can't wait to report back to you regarding that. We also have formatted a Special Education Steering Committee in district. I have teachers and related service providers from all across the district who've agreed to serve on our steering committee. We're going to meet this week, actually on Friday, once during the summer as well, to come together and talk about some priorities in our department. And I'm looking forward to that as well. We are going to continue to work on our IEP reviews and professional development needs. In collaboration, of course, Jamie mentioned that we do have a year-long plan. And then I also included some fall priorities. I should mention too that the state has a new platform that you can engage with your paraprofessionals. And we have looked at that and think it's wonderful, and have gotten some feedback from our paraprofessionals, and they think that's great too. So we're going to go with that for our professional developments on a wide range of topics that need to be covered. And what's really nice about the platform is that it has onboarding for new paraprofessionals, very new to the role, and other pieces of really pertinent information, things that we've struggled with trying to get our training modules and pieces in place. So lots going on as usual in student services, and just some highlights of some of the things from this year and some things to look forward to as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Lisa, thank you very much for sharing your highlights. You answered one of my questions, but I just want to make sure I have it in my notes. So you said that the data for the Reading Institute will be presented to the Board of Education in the fall this year.
Yes, it will, yes.
Then I was gonna ask for those data so I could see those progress.
Yes,
So the other two questions I have is, can you just go a little bit in depth with the collaboration with Parents with a Purpose? I know they came to the Board of Education before and made their presentation. And I think having collaboration with them is very beneficial to our students with special needs. So I just wanted to know what that looked like in practice. And then the second question is regarding the summer programming, the extended school year. It says here at the very last, summer program to share resources. What kind of resources are being shared?
Sure. So the first question was about the Reading Institute. Is that right?
Yeah, that you don't need to answer, 'cause
Okay.
you're gonna present the data in the fall, so.
And the second was?
The second one is just to go a little bit more in depth with the
Parents with a Purpose. My apologies.
and practice.
So that has been wonderful. We have virtual meetings and they happen on a consistent basis. And our Family Resource Center, Cindy Beauregard, has been at the helm of inviting families who are interested in that, and it's been growing steadily. And it's an opportunity for us to have FaceTime and to really, it becomes a chat. It's really very just very nice. It's just a conversation about things that are happening in their own child's life or questions that they might have about something going on at school. It's an opportunity for me to hear concerns, to reply, and to kind of shed some light on some issues that may be coming up. I also was so happy to see them at the Autism Wellness Fair. They have their own table, they have a banner now. So we've grown, and only good things can come from that. Those conversations are really important to have, and it really gives us a good sense of kind of where their thinking is, and we can kind of help them as well. We've had some guest speakers for Parents with a Purpose. We had one of our BCBAs join us one evening, and have discussion related to behavior and those kinds of things. So it really is a nice opportunity for all of us. We do plan on continuing that for next year.
Excellent.
May I ask, how many people do you feel have been participating, other than, staff members or
Different families that are coming to the meetings?
parents that are signing on?
Yeah, well, there are many invited, and they can get information on that. We send out information on a regular basis, but I would say anywhere for about 10 different families at any given time. Sometimes we don't have very many, other times we have, right, but the nice part is with it being virtual, people can jump on. We would like to have some in-person as well, so it's in the works.
And just for the second question, Lisa,
Yes.
regarding the summer program, the
Yes.
district's academic programming, what are the shared resources?
So what I meant by that was what we talked about earlier, so we're sharing a nurse and supervision of the site, so those
Okay.
kinds of things.
Gotcha. Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
That's right, the Reading Institute, so that's not part of the other summer program, that's something separate?
It is, it's its own little program. So yeah, that is happening. It's happened, I think, the last several years. You had it, Jamie, and then I picked it up. And if you go back in the board docs, the last 2 years, I think, or 3, there will be information in the fall, related to what the progress was. So the beginning progress is measured, and then where they ended up, and there's always a ton of progress.
So what's the format, like, do the kids meet with somebody
Yes.
one-on-one,
Yes,
at a local school?
at the school, yeah, I think it'll be here this year.
And staff, it's our regular teaching staff?
Yes,
Staff,
yes,
very good.
yeah, and they really specialize in multi-sensory teaching techniques. So it's really, it's just wonderfully done. And we've been able to gather other students too, to make it really a good program for all.
So kids sign up for that, parents sign their children up?
Well, they're chosen to participate in the program.
When it first started, we had some grant funding from the State Department specifically intended to address students with dyslexia. And so with that funding, a program was kind of designed to provide really high dosage tutoring, that one-on-one, identify students that really needed it. And with the results, the outcome data that was realized, huge. We were like, wow, this is what is needed. And so there was a teacher here.
No, that's
One
wonderful.
teacher here had some really amazing results, and so not only are the teachers excited about what happened, but the students and the parents.
Yeah.
So it was continued.
Because people are always asking, what are we doing? That's why, so I love getting all this information.
Yeah.
Because that's, because of where our scores have been, and obviously, for reading and math. So it's wonderful to hear all these extra things that you folks are doing and developing. It's wonderful.
And I think too, the more we work together on initiatives like that, it's going to benefit even more students, and we've been able to catch some students at middle school who are reading well below. And we had a student from last summer who was really increased in their reading level. So it's really amazing to see in such a short time, given the right intervention at the right time, in the right way, you know, or the way that's going to work for that particular child. They're just ready at that moment, so.
Thank you. Okay, so I have a question and it kind of goes on what someone was talking about. What's going on with the the reading specialist at Teachers Memorial? Why is there not one there? Or why is there not going to be one there? I know that it's not exactly right here, I'm asking whoever can answer that for me, because I don't know, it doesn't seem right. These are middle school kids, you're preparing them for high school. And I know my own children are suffering severely in high school because of the lack of support that they had at teachers before during the reset. I would hate to see that trend continue. We need to make sure that every student has an opportunity to have those specialists, and those are important things. They're not gonna succeed if you can't read, write, and do math. That's just basics.
Well, we did some restructuring, as you know, with the academic department with our coaches and specialists. And so there are still instructional coaches that are specializing in ELA and math and science and social studies. And as far as the model that was used this year, and I'm not sure about the year before, it's not that we have a full-time person doing that or people doing that. We have interventionists that are funded through the school improvement grant. That will be hired or have been hired in some cases, even this year, that'll be doing that work.
Okay.
So it's just a different food. In terms of qualifications, it still will be a certified teacher, expert in being able to provide interventions.
So the students will not be losing any actual services except for a different title of a person who is doing it.
There's not going to be a full-time person
There, but if someone
but there
needs
still
it.
will be interventionists that will be coming in to provide intervention that students need.
But the other schools have them
Elementary? Yeah, one,
for all the schools?
every elementary school.
Okay.
Really focusing on K through 2 in the elementary schools.
I understand that, but it seems like that lets down the ones that are about to start their high school careers.
So everybody's got to
They're gonna struggle at NFA. We can't just concentrate on, I understand that, I get it, K through, if you do it right, then it sets them up for success, but we can't just.
We haven't, like Jamie said, there's still be intervention in place at global.
Thank you.
And I know, I want to go on a slightly different tack on nursing. I did get some communication from the trustees at the Sacred Heart Parochial School, and they were requesting more time for nurses. So I don't know it's a tough budget that we're dealing with, and I'm sure we certainly can't afford to put a full-time nurse there, but maybe to schedule some more time to see exactly what their needs are. And
What I can do is provide you with a schedule of what we do have. We do have daily support there. I know that the ask has been full-time. We're doing the best we can with the resources we have to support as much of all of the privates that we need to. It's just not going to be a full-time nurse, so.
I think, is it part, oh, sorry, Mark.
I know it's only a limited number of students. I think they have under a half a dozen, compared to our needs,
Right.
which are
Is it
much
mostly
greater.
med administration? Is that what the concern is mostly?
I don't know what the problems are there. That's why I'm referring it.
Yeah.
Right,
do they have staff that are trained as servers?
yes, yes.
I was at one time, they
Right,
do?
yes, and so one of the things too that we balance is the nature of what the nursing need is for any particular school, our own schools included. So if you have a high level of diabetic students, for example, that care is much more advanced even than some of the, dispensing of meds. Because it involves all of those calculations and the insulin and all of that. So if you have, and we do have schools that have 6 diabetic students, that's a significance. However, at St. Pat's, at Sacred Heart, and the other schools, we do look at that, what are the students' needs, and we have to shift supports as necessary. So I know that's been a very big concern. I do have a sample schedule that I can provide you just so you can see that there is coverage. I know that the ask is for a full-time nurse, but the data doesn't support that necessarily.
So you'll be sending that out?
I can send that to you,
Thank you.
yes.
Okay. Any more questions for Lisa? No? All right, report of the business administrator, Bob Sierpinski.
Good evening. Left a couple of handouts at your table that I'm just going to talk about briefly before I give an update on the 23-24 year. In food service, we had an event that was fun. Education. It was called the Discovery Student Chef Cook-Off. We had 2 student teams at Kelly and Global competed against each other. They underwent kitchen safety training and knife cutting training. The students brought in their own recipes from home. Sometimes it was grandma's recipe, mom's recipe, their favorite Sunday dinner recipe. And they had to cook for 6 judges, much like the TV show format. And a winner was chosen from each school. I had the pleasure of being a judge at Kelly and at the finals. And I was totally amazed at the talent of the students. They cooked from scratch, they cooked complex recipes, and they had fun. This past Friday at Moriarty, we had a winner. They were all winners, actually, all the students, and it was great fun for all. Next year, we hope to compete against, have our winning team compete against NFA's freshman class, and have our students compete against Wedger Middle School. So you can read the article. They were totally engaged. There were as many boy chefs as girl chefs, and the food was absolutely amazing. So I want to give you an update on that.
I saw there's no board members on the judges.
Oh, there was the SROs were judges, principals, the superintendent, teachers, athletic directors. So we needed judges, and it was really, really hard because I'm telling you, the kids, they had kitchen skills, they knew what they were doing, and the winning food, all the food was just amazing. So I was really surprised at that. And one of the best human kid stories about this was the winning team was a 7th and 8th grade boy at Global. They didn't know each other before this started, and now they're buddies. So I thought that was kind of cool.
I want to thank Lou Allen for making sure that we paced ourselves as judges, so.
Yeah.
Tim,
Make sure we know.
And the time frame was from 8:30 to 10:30, so we were eating lunch at could be a breakfast time. So that was kind of fun. So, any questions about that? If not, I'll just move on.
So that seems a little tough, chicken Alfredo at 9:30.
Oh, yeah. Well, I will say this: for the finals, the Zom made it really hard for the kids. They couldn't bring in a recipe, and they didn't know what they were going to cook. So he had a table this long with fresh fruits and vegetables. He had ingredients like mashed potatoes, pasta, couscous, if I said that right, rice, assorted meats, and each team had a secret ingredient, and they had to figure out a recipe and make something. So that was really hard, and they did far better than I ever could.
So it was like a professional TV
It
cooking
was like
show.
a chops.
Yeah,
It really
chops.
was.
Yeah.
They were interviewed by the panel
chops.
judges, and they answered questions. They were judged on appearance, teamwork, following instructions, and everybody had a great time, so it was good. Okay, in your board, Mark Kulos did ask me to put together a little sheet on what he referred to as the top 5 budget expense items, so that's that one-page handout. So briefly, that's the 24-25 budget with the 5 biggest cost categories, and you can easily see that they comprise 96% of the budget. So if you're looking at areas where you might have discretionary spending or some wiggle room, there really isn't a lot left after these fixed categories. And again, tuition and special education contracted services are the biggest piece of our budget, followed by salaries and benefits. And as Mark mentioned, the budget was approved last night. We had a 6.94% increase, so we were very thrilled with that. The budget process is over, but the process of making the budget work and monitoring it will start now, and that's a 12-month everyday endeavor, because even though the increase was large, it still will have challenges, as we all know. So, have any questions about 24-25?
Just want to add to that, Bob, that the lesson that we learned about this budget season was that we had to take a longer view, not just think of next year. Basically, the birth of Rose City School and the transportation that we're working on right now to restructure transportation. So I just want to say that the restructuring plan, which we've had in discussion for months, they were deliberate, thoughtful decisions. Some decisions were eliminated, some were modified, some were created. And, I think everyone knows that we're not afraid of hard questions. We expect hard questions. We're not offended by comments. So it was a really tough year, but I think the lesson that we learned is that we really need to look so that this doesn't happen again to us.
Okay, within your budget package, I bombarded you with lots of documents. This 3-page narrative forecast for this year. There's numbers and categories. So I'm not going to review all of that. I'm just going to briefly give you an update on where I think we're going to end the year. You've heard me talk about special education costs, unfunded state mandates, state shortfalls on reimbursement, and so on and so forth. And those are really the main driving forces behind our deficits. So I thought it would be worthwhile to take a little look back in time, just going back a couple of years in the area of special education cost increases. So within your packet is a handout that looks at actual expenses for contracted services and special education, all of our outplaced tuitions, the NFA special education and specialty programs in Griswold. So going back to the year 2021-22, in those 4 or 5 areas, we spent a total of $15.5 million. That's a big number. Looking at this year, which is 2 full years later, that number has risen to $21.6 million. It's a $6.1 million increase, or almost a 40% increase. And that's not sustainable in any world of any type of expense category. So what's the cause behind all of this? So part of the reason the district is paying more is unfunded mandates. And much like this year was the educating students that turn 22 to the end of the school year as opposed to their birth date. So that event added $450,000 in cost that wasn't budgeted. So of course that's gonna put us in deficit right away. State didn't reimburse us to the level that they should have on excess cost, and that is a big shortfall. It was over $1 million. So they need to start living up to what they should do. And then because the pandemic and other things like that, student need has increased. So we have more students that need more services. And then as you all know, in your daily lives, the cost of everything has increased. So those costs of those services in terms of pricing has gone up substantially, especially with the private placements. So Susan mentioned some of the things that the district's trying to do in terms of bringing more students back in, creating our own programs. And we'll continue to lobby with our local legislators and state legislators to have them pick up the reimbursement rates. But these are some of the main factors that caused our budget problem, both this year and the previous year. If you recall, 22-23, we were $2.2 million over budget in those areas, and again, it was the same reason. So now jumping to the end of this year, we only have a couple more payrolls left. We're 8 days of school, I believe, so the variable payroll costs are about the only thing that can fluctuate a little bit. And again, the two main areas for the deficit would be the tuitions and special education costs and transportation. There's a sheet in your packet that summarizes those groups, and between the tuition areas and special education contracted services, you're going to be $3.7 million over budget. Transportation was $2 million over budget, so collectively that's $5.8 million. Now, the district enacted a budget freeze in early December, first week of December, I believe, when these factors were becoming known. And all other budget accounts, excluding salaries, are going to be $1 million under budget. And salaries are looking to come in about $500,000 under budget. That's all salaries, certified salaries, non-certified overtime, stipends, and any other type of salary. Will actually be about $1.4 million under budget on the certified side. Two reasons for that: we've been having difficulty, as not as bad as the previous year, filling positions, and that's been required use of substitutes. So the substitute budget will be about $1 million over budget to offset that. We do have $1.4 million remaining in the non-lapsing fund. So after everything nets out, we could be between the city would be looking to fund from the undesignated fund anywhere from $2.5 to $3 million.
Any questions for Rob? And you'll have the final numbers, what, after the end of July?
We'll get really close by the middle of July, but by the end of July, I have to start our state reporting. Is due by September 1st on full year expenditures. So it takes that long for the districts to get their final bills into us and close out POs and things like that. But we'll have cement will be more hardened by the end of July in terms of where the numbers really going to be.
So we'll have the old beaten raggedy hat to the city council sometime in August, probably.
Yes.
All right.
Transportation, $2 million over transportation.
Yes, and part of that, two main reasons that I think of. One, this year's budget was underfunded. If you were at the city council meeting, you probably heard that word used a few times. And if you look at the transportation budget for the current year, 23-24, and compare it to the 22-23 year, it's actually $300,000, I think, below the previous year's actual expense. So that number was somewhat artificial when in June, the district was trying to find $2.5 million of budget cuts. The district entered into a new 5-year contract, and at that time, contract increases were ranging between 10 and 20%. So we had a new way of billing, and we were hopeful that that would reduce costs, and that didn't happen either.
Okay, that's it. All right, so we'll move on in new business, 7.1. Back when we were at the beginning, well, in the middle stages, the end of our budget meetings, we came up with a total budget of just north of $100 million. And due to the heroic efforts of Bob and Susan and everyone else involved and talks during the ad hoc committee, we were able to reduce our ask down to by 4.4 million. So originally we approved the budget of north of 100 million. So now we have to get a motion to approve the new budget that we'll be living under for the next year. So if I could have a motion, please, to adopt the new figure.
I'll make that motion. I'll make a motion for the board to approve the proposed budget adjustment to the 2024-2025 budget of $95,680,890.
Okay, could I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on this? Kevin?
Mr. Chair, I wrote a statement that I would like to read.
All right.
To the members of the Board of Education and members of the general public. I address you today to discuss a matter of paramount importance for our community. The recent approval of the $95.68 million budget for Norwich Public Schools for the 2024-2025 fiscal year that had been voted on by the City Council last night. This approved budget, which represents a 6.45% increase over the previous year, reflects the diligent efforts of our school leadership, who have tirelessly worked to identify and implement necessary cost-saving measures, reducing the initial budget proposal of over $100 million by over $4.4 million. The decision to endorse this budget was based on a realistic assessment of our school district's needs, including the burdens of unfunded and underfunded state mandates and the escalating costs associated with special education. These are not merely figures, they represent the essential resources required to provide our students with the quality education they deserve while meeting the legal and ethical standards expected of us. I want to extend my heartfelt commendation to our school leaders for their perseverance and careful planning in achieving these reductions. Their ability to make difficult decisions, streamline operations, and restructure where necessary has been commendable. They have consistently demonstrated fiscal responsibility while prioritizing the best interests of our students. However, it is crucial to recognize that not funding this realistic budget will have serious repercussions. Without this approval, we will face a likely deficit at the end of the next fiscal year, necessitating the use of the city undesignated fund balance to cover the shortfall. We are already grappling with the reality that our school's budget is projected to end with a significant deficit. Continuing this cycle of financial instability is not an option. Our elected officials, including those of the Board of Education, the City Council, and the City Mayor, are acutely aware of the fiscal challenges faced by many residents, especially those on fixed incomes and our elderly population. These challenges are both real and deeply felt. Nevertheless, funding education is not just a budgetary decision, it is a moral obligation. It is an investment in our children's future, ensuring that every child, regardless of their circumstances, has access to the education they need to succeed and thrive. We are at a critical juncture where we must decide whether to invest in our children's futures or risk compromising their educational experiences and opportunities. By approving this budget, we reaffirm our commitment to upholding our educational standards and supporting our educators, students, and families. I urge the Board of Education and the public to consider the profound implications of this decision. Let us stand together in support of our schools and our community's future. By making this courageous choice to prioritize education, despite the fiscal challenges we face, we can ensure that Norwich remains a place where every child has the opportunity to reach their full potential.
And I would just like to add, it's not just a moral responsibility, it's also a legal responsibility. Under the state of Connecticut's Constitution, it guarantees a free public education to every student in the state of Connecticut. So that is required by law that we fund public education. Okay.
I have a,
Go ahead, Darlene.
yeah, thank you. I know that this was really hard for all of us, and I just want to say thank you to the administration and, you know, every member of the board who've been involved in this process. I know that when we initially voted on a budget, it was at the 100 million, and there's been significant reduction. And I've not been as involved in the ad hoc committee meeting. I just wanted to quickly ask what have been some of the adjustment that's been made to get to that 95. I just wanted to get some clarification there.
Bob, Susan, you wanna
Yeah.
take that? Yeah.
So, some of it was due to some cuts. Like I said earlier, we modified positions, we eliminated positions. And then Jamie worked really hard on moving some positions into grant funding. Keep in mind that we have to stay within the parameters of those grants. So you can't just put anybody in a grant. So those are the top three things that we did to eliminate it. Transportation, we got some transportation costs. We're still hoping to get some more transportation costs cut. If I'm missing anything, Bob or John, you were at the ad hoc. I think those are the highlights of the cuts.
And in terms of positions that were eliminated, I can assure you that every position that was eliminated, the people were doing good work in the district. They weren't doing things that weren't necessary. So those tasks have been assigned to people in positions, restructuring, finding a new way to do things, and some people will do more than they did in the past. It was hard.
It's been a long process. We've started this back in November and December, working on this. We also put a freeze in November with the district, and that helped.
That goes back to my comment during my report that processes of getting to a number is over, but making it work is going to be a challenge that every building principal, administrator, we're going to have to monitor this and make sure things don't come off the rails, because it's a large number percent-wise, but it represented real need, and the number that the Board of Ed approved at $100 million wasn't a make-believe number. That represented need as well, so we have our challenges ahead of us.
And that didn't include the ESSER funds that we had to cut to. That was not included in that was not in our budget. So that was the 4.88 million ESSER 3 funds. So.
And we were able to retain the SRO program, and that's now part of the Board of Ed budget that was previously in the ESSER grant funding source.
And that was decided in the ad hoc committee.
Yes, it'll be under contracted services because we contract with the city police department.
I think the process, having been involved for the first time, I think the process was amazing, to be quite honest with you. The leadership of the administration, getting the ball going with restructuring, making cuts, getting us to where we need to get to. It was reflected in the confidence of the council to approve the budget. We have full confidence in what has been done to this point. And you were absolutely correct. The game is, we just picked the team. The game is just beginning. We now have a budget. We have a realistic budget, and it's our task to make sure that we come through and make it work. By keeping our eye on what we need to keep our eye on, and looking for ways to continue to have the faith, of the city council and the public in our best interests. So I'm thankful that the council passed it. We all know the realistic implication of it. Yes, that we do understand that. And we will work to make it happen.
And I'll give you one real-life example that involves Lisa's office during two areas that are very important, not only from the special education office daily work, but these two people did the paperwork behind the excess cost grant and our Medicaid reimbursement program. They both left in the springtime and to help mitigate the deficit. They weren't filled. So we're gonna try to fill both of those positions with one position. That person will be tasked with doing both of those things, and they'll work closely with my office, so people in my office will have to do more to make sure that the excess cost grant, we get our full reimbursement that we're entitled to in the reimbursement. So that's just one example of district-wide of equitable reductions in force everywhere, and more people have, the work isn't gonna be any less. We'll have to figure out a way to get it done.
I for one look forward, I should be careful what I say this. I look forward to the challenge of working with the administration as board members to make this really make it happen. So
Another thing too that Bill mentioned was the special education cuts that, Lisa, we worked hard on getting that second program of the vets running so that we've already have students, like I said earlier, that are going to be in that program that we're taking from out of district back into our district. And with the Rose City, the new Rose City school, we took that into account on how much money that we saved as well, that we eliminated from the budget from that outplacement amount. So, and we're hoping to see greater savings over the next at least 2 or 3 and beyond with this new program. It's going to continue to grow.
And one last example, there was the deferral of some expenses that we know we have to make, and that example would be in facilities. We had $85,000 in there for a truck replacement, so we took that out. That same truck was supposed to be replaced in the 23-24 school year, but when we were making reductions, we took it out. So that truck now, I believe, is going to be 14 years old, and that expense will be in next year's budget, so we have to find a way to make that happen too.
I would just like to comment that I think this is I think Susan's done excellent. This is the first time, I was just at a CEA meeting with other educators, and we're one district that people are noticing already that we're making Rose City, making things change. There's so many districts that are facing the same unmandated special ed, their costs, they're cutting teachers, they're cutting everywhere, it's a state end. I just look back since like 2020 when my boys were in Norwich Public Schools, we were always fighting to keep this going, keeping that going, and we've never really been funded, we've always just keep asking for more money, but Susan this year and her team have found a way to come up with bringing that back, and I think people were saying, Chris, that's awesome that you're involved in Norwich that is doing this model to bring this back. So hopefully in future years, and it's going to take a while because like focus on K-2, that's, if we don't catch them by second grade, even I had third graders this year that I teach, if we don't catch them now, they're gonna be struggling when they get to NFA. So that's why we need to focus that and saving that money on this. I think that what we're doing with this, even though we're 96 and it's 6.45, I've seen other districts getting approved with a much higher that still couldn't afford it. And we have a higher percentage of not just special ed, but the needs for multi-language. There's so many needs. So I really think that I'm pretty proud of this team that's put together this budget. I think they've done an excellent job. I'm really putting a lot of faith, focusing K-2 is gonna surpass that later on to put things back into where we need to be. If we can get these kids reading and get them on task by second grade, that will go a long way.
Absolutely. Second that.
And it's looking at the overall budget. I mean, we talked about the 4.4 million savings, but overall, the total savings to the budget was nearly $10 million because we've got the grant side, which we never really discussed, but which is also highly important. because you can't run a school district on the 4% from the operating budget. We need that grant money to help with all of our programs. I mean, we would not function with 4%, $4 million or less is not gonna run everything else than the essentials. And we found a way to, or the administration found a way to lessen the impact from the loss of the ESSER funds. I mean, there were massive amounts of money over the past 3 years. I think it was something close to $17-18 million that came in. What was that,
35 million.
35 million in the past 4 years. So that's between ARPA and ESSER money. And the effect of that just evaporating into the atmosphere and us absorbing the loss of that funding source was tremendous. But our wizards were able to figure it out. Thank you all.
Yes. Thank you to this team, because unfortunately we didn't pay attention before, because we knew the ESSER funds were gonna go away in 4 years. We should have been more aware, more vigilant in making sure that we know that we can continue all of the programs that we wanna have and not be slam bam and pretend like it evaporated into thin air. It didn't. It evaporated incredibly slowly over time, and we all knew it was coming. It's like my laundry, you know? I forgot about it.
Thank you.
All right, so let's move the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections? It is unanimous.
What are we doing?
We're voting on the budget.
On the
We're voting
budget.
on it now?
She has
No,
yes.
but I want to say something too.
You're a no?
Yeah. I
Okay,
want to say something.
all right.
I'm going to reiterate, of course, everything Kevin said. I feel the same way. Of course, I want to thank Susan and her wonderful staff for working so hard to find the savings in the initial budget. This is real hard. Although, of course, I love the children of Norwich, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't. It's a lot more difficult than a lot of people realize being on the Board of Ed. But my main reason is the increased burden on our homeowners. And we, while attending the city council meeting last night, when the facts were presented and examples given regarding exactly how many dollars the increase translates to. They came up with the house with the lowest assessment will see an increase of approximately $700, with some as many as $3,000 to $4,000 and more. Heather knows somebody it's gonna be more. We're driving our homeowners out of the city, and they're the ones paying the taxes. All of this also ties into our bond rating, which of course, you have to have a business mind to understand it. I know Mark understands all that. We have to have a high bond rating in order to build the schools, so we're not gonna be able to get the money. And this debt is going to affect all that. The other thing I just wanted to mention was, I'll reiterate what Mr. Spensky said a moment ago. We need to be pressuring our state representatives. People aren't grasping how important it is for all these unfunded mandates. We have to be doing more. People have to be calling their representatives. We just aren't doing enough to put pressure on these people. And if it has to happen at the ballot box, because we just keep reelecting some of the same people who are not giving us the money that we need.
Or that they say they're going to.
And they say they are. People are so unaware of all these unfunded mandates that Mark touched on. We are not getting the money that we desperately need. And the taxpayers end up paying, the homeowners end up paying it, and we can't afford it anymore. We have too many people in our city that are on a fixed income, our seniors who can't afford to leave. So they're here and, you know, they'll be cutting back on their food budget, and not to mention all the families, because we are an Alice district. So it's just, I can't with a good heart, I mean, I don't know how I really want to word it exactly, but yes, even though I want everything for these children, we've worked hard to reestablish a lot of these programs, but I have to say no.
And I also will be saying no.
Okay, all right, let's,
Although I am very, very amazed at everything we've done, I think we need to do more. I think it's just too much I know too many seniors that are already without the tax increase that they just had, you know, they're already struggling. Many of them, I see it on Facebook every day, asking if anyone has any food. We should not have to be, they shouldn't have to be doing that. We're supposed to take care of them too. And I know that we're a Board of Ed, but as community members, we gotta take care of everybody. And I don't feel, if there was a maybe, I need more time, then I would be there. But right now, my heart says I have to say no.
okay. Let's do a polling in on the vote. Christine,
No, regretfully.
Yes.
Carleen,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Kevin,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
Heather,
No.
and Ella.
Yes.
Okay, so the vote is 7-2. And motion passes. Next item, 7.2, discussion and possible action regarding policy 4116. All right, this is not although this is I think this is a first read, right?
Yeah, this one is.
For you,
Yeah.
but just to change the,
Right, the only change in this, if you look at the policy, is just the contact information for the employee accommodations. So it's sent to the HR department, which you said eventually will be moved to 90 towns, so that the address will change again.
At the time we put it in, it was.
All right, so that there is no change to the wording of the policy itself, it's just that one line. So I don't think we need a second read on that.
Are we still gonna make this change and then make it again?
I assume we would probably have to if,
Well, no, they're gonna be going to 90 Town Street, so the motion is just to update the contact information, so I think we don't have to vote for it to say 526 East Main Street. You know, if you're just voting to update the contact information, when I update the policy, I can just put 90 Town Street.
right, because it was,
Special education.
special ed director, now it's going to HR where it should have been in the first place.
Correct.
So, all right, could I have a motion on that? Kevin?
motion for the board to update the contact information for policy number 4116, employee accommodations.
And could I have a second? Okay, Heather? And any discussion, further discussion? Okay, Christine? All right.
Yes.
Or we can just do a voice vote. All right, let's do, all in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? Okay, it is unanimous, passes 9-0. Next item, 7.2, discussion possible action regarding use of the non-lapsing use of funds. Being that from Bob's report that we're going to have a deficit, we have to have a motion to dip into the non-lapsing account and use those funds to offset at least a portion of the deficit. So if the deficit exceeds the amount of the lapsing funds, we'll be emptying out that account. Okay, could I have a motion, please, on that? Greg,
A motion for the board to authorize the use of funds from the non-lapsing account to offset the general fund education operating deficit for the year 2023.
and could I have a second?
Second.
John, second. Okay, any discussion? All in-
I'm
yeah,
sorry, Mark, I just
Christine.
want to mention those, that means it will be at 4.4 million that we're gonna have to go to the city council approximately in the summer, right, to ask for.
No, Bob,
Let's assume the deficit was 4 million. Our use of the $1.4 million is now 2.6 million.
More money.
but we don't know the total
Yeah, I know,
number
we won't know
until,
till
at least until the middle to end of July. So, this is just, but whatever that figure is, it's gonna be in excess of the 1.4, so whatever we vote on tonight, it's gonna wipe it out. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections? Again, unanimous, it passes. Unfinished business. Okay, board report, no unfinished business, board reports, okay, budget and ad hoc, those are all done. The work of those is completed. There is nothing on negotiations, no new, nothing pending. We are going to be voting on the paraeducator contract tonight. We'll be discussing that in executive session and then coming out and voting on that. Policy committee,
Policy committee did not meet.
okay. School building, Chris, you wanna give us a?
Just that we hired the school, commissioning agent,
Right,
that was the next, we have a meeting next week.
yeah. Okay.
And there was something, what was it exactly, like the over budgeting?
I didn't know about that amount until Mayor Nystrom mentioned it last night, so I'm gonna question all that
All
next
right,
week.
you could let me know when you.
Yeah, I know the amount was like over 20 million
He said
total.
22.
22 and a
It
half.
sounded like he knew what he was talking about.
Yeah, so it's something like 90% of the overrun cost is the Greenville site.
Mhm.
And then the rest goes to the fact that there's more wetlands area in the Stanton site than we originally thought. But those, well, we were dealing off of 40, 50-year-old wetlands maps, so that's going to be updated. Okay. And we will be meeting next week, and then during the summer, we'll have continuing meetings. I believe design is nearly complete and should be ready for final submission this fall. So we are on track for that.
And hopefully we'll be finding a way to have the public see it, see the design.
Yeah, well, I think we have to, it probably comes to our board also for final
Oh, yeah.
approval.
Yeah.
Okay. Board reports, ITCS.
No meeting since our last, we'll be meeting next week. I do know that, I think I mentioned last month that the director, Dr. Ellen Rattel, was stepping down from that position. They have since hired, who is the current assistant director, Debbie Allard. And I believe the interviews are happening this week for her replacement as assistant director. IDCS's graduation is on Friday, and the last day is on June 17th. I'll share Learn stuff since I'm going right now, which is in a similar situation. They are meeting on Thursday this week for their State of the Agency end of the year meeting. There are also a couple of things that are on the agenda. They are looking to approve their teacher evaluation plan policy and the proposed budget as well, which is currently available on the Learn website. But I don't have any meeting news to report because they're meeting on Thursday.
Okay. NFA, the May meeting, they awarded some scholarship money to, I believe it was the 5 students, significant scholarships, 15,000 apiece. So that's amazing that you go to high school and the high school itself is able to give you, you know, a substantial amount for your college years. They will be, their last day of school, I believe, is Friday, graduation is Thursday. And their next meeting will be the following week, I believe it's next Tuesday. And you going to the graduation also, Susan?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be attending, Susan will be attending, and former member Bob Aldi, he'll also be in attendance because he'll be marching with the students. He's part of the class of 74, so they'll be celebrating their 50th anniversary. Yeah, you laugh, I'm gonna be there in 2 years,
My
so.
husband's is next year, yeah. My husband will be there throughout the graduation.
Okay. Okay, Otis Library, John?
Report from Otis Library, for people listening and people interested, there are a number of summer enrichment programs available for all ages of young people. So my advice, the advice from the library board, would be please go onto the website, check out summer enrichment. You'll find many things available for students.
I know they were doing tutoring there, my son got tutoring there, and it was, except the very, very cheap Saturday mornings, it was great.
That's it.
All right. They still do passports?
Still do passports. Yep.
So, yeah, it's really a wonderful, wonderful asset that we have there at the school. I'm at the library, our city library. And we have learned, and in the foundation, the public school foundation, we had processed classroom grants for $250. Recipients should have been noticed already. And I believe those checks were either handed out or in the process, so that will help for the summer. The Follies this year will be November 22nd, which is a Friday. And that will be held right here at Kelly in November. Additional reports on the budget, enrollment and personnel are in your packet here. John, could you read the motion for executive session, please?
Recommend that members of the Board of Education move to go into executive session to discuss the master agreement with NFA, the paraeducators contract, food service contract extension, as well as the employment of the acting superintendent and the acting assistant superintendent. Acting Superintendent Susan Lassard, Acting Assistant Superintendent Jamie Bender, Robert Sapensky, and Dr. Lisa Hughes may be asked to participate in portions of the executive session discussion.
And could I have a second to the motion? Okay, Heather. All in favor of going into executive session? Aye. Any objections? Okay, we are now in executive session.
right.
Okay, it is now 9:22. We are out of executive session. Okay, the first item up would be a motion to ratify the paraeducator contract. Could I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
I'll
I make a
I'm sorry, go
motion
ahead.
for the board to ratify the paraeducator contract from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2027, as discussed in executive session.
Christine DeStacio, I'll second that motion.
All right. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections? It is unanimous. 8-0. Please note for the record too that Kevin Sitani had left the meeting. Okay, next up is a motion for the board to approve the Norwich Free Academy Master Agreement. Could I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion. I make a motion for the board to approve the Norwich Free Academy Master Agreement from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2030.
Could I have a second?
I second it.
Chris seconds. Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objection? It is unanimous, 8-0. Next item up is the board to approve the extension on the food contract.
I'll make a motion for the board to approve the food service contract renewal, addendum number 1.
Chris DeStacio, I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections? Unanimous, 8-0. Next item up is the extension for the employment of Acting Superintendent Susan Lassard.
I'll make that motion. Board authorize.
No, that's, I
Wrong
think
one.
that's the wrong one.
Sorry about that.
I will make that motion to extend the acting superintendent's contract to the end of December.
I will second that motion.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections? It is unanimous, 8-0. And finally, the action for the extension for Acting Assistant Superintendent Jamie Bender.
I'll make that motion. The board authorize the acting superintendent of schools to extend the contract of employment of Jamie Bender as acting assistant superintendent through December 31st or as such time as deemed necessary by the board, subject to compliance with teacher retirement board rules and subject to the execution of a contract by the acting superintendent on behalf of the board, and move further that the acting superintendent is authorized to negotiate, finalize, and execute on behalf of the board an employment contract with Ms. Bender for acting assistant superintendent based on the terms discussed in executive session held on June 11th, 2024.
And could I have a second on that, please?
I'll second.
Second by Ella. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections? It is unanimous, 8-0. Could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn. Heather.
And I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Heather, second by Ella. No discussion on the item. All in favor?
Aye.
And we are out of here, 8-0. Thank you all.
Have a good summer.
So Mark, just make note about those two policies.